I'm Gary Summers, and welcome to Card Magic Made Easy. You know, when I first got into magic, one of the things I did was I bought a lot of books on card magic. And a lot of it contained really difficult sleights, things like double lifts and controlling a card from the top to the bottom, from the second to the bottom to the third to the bottom, and doing all kinds of Emsley counts and false counts. And it took a lot of time for me to perfect just a couple of card tricks because it was just so easy. So what I decided to do, and this is a while in the making, and I'm proud to say that I've now developed a great card video which you are about to see on card magic. And what I've done is I've taken all the sleights and all the difficult moves out of card magic so that it's going to make it very easy for you to do. Now, a couple of things before we start. Even though there's no card sleights involved in this, you still need to practice. And someone said, you know, you don't have to know 150 or 200 card tricks. I don't know 150 or 200 card tricks, but as long as you can do 8 or 10 card tricks really well, that's all that really matters. So once you finish this video, you're going to be able to take a deck of cards, a borrowed deck of cards, and entertain your friends at a party for an hour or so, which is great. A couple of things you really need to keep in mind. Number one is you have to practice enough so that you're natural. You want to be able to tell a story when you're telling the cards so that people concentrate more on the story than they do on the cards. So it's very important to be as natural as you can. Practice as much as you can so that everything flows very, very easily. What I'd like to do before I get into my card magic, I'd like to show you a neat little piece of magic. You know, people say that you should never play cards with a gambler, and a gambler taught me some really neat card sleights. And he actually showed me this magic trick, and what I'd like to do is show it to you right now. If I can just get a close-up right here. And what we have here are 3 cards, and I'll show them for you. We have a blue card, we have another blue card, and we have a red card. The red card is the money card. The gambler told me, he said, if I can find out where the red card was, he'd give me $1. But if I was wrong, I had to give him $1. So I figured, well, this shouldn't be too hard. There's only 3 cards there. I have to find out where the red card is. So we took the red card and he laid it on top like this. Just like this. Now we said, I want you to follow the red card. And all he did was this. He said, now where's the red card? I said, it's on the bottom. He said, no, the blue card is on the bottom. He said, that's $1 you owe me. I said, well then okay, it's on top. He said, no, he said, the blue card is on top. He said, that's $2 you owe me. I said, well then, okay, it must be in the middle. He said, no, he said, the blue card is in the middle. He said, that's $3 you owe me. I said, there's no red card. He said, oh yes, he said, the red card is on the bottom. He said, that's $4 you owe me. I said, well then okay, if the red card is on the bottom, it can't be on top. He turned it over. He said, yes. He said, the red card is on top. He said, that's $5 you owe me. I said, well then if the red card is on top, it can't be in the middle. And he turned it over. He said, yes. He said, the red card is in the middle. He said, that's $6 you owe me. I said, you're using more than 3 cards. And he said, no, look, 1, 2, 3. I'm only using 3 cards. He said, that's $7 you owe me. Well, I said, I don't want to play anymore because I've lost $7. And he said, no. He said, I'll tell you what, I'll give you a chance to get your money back. And he said, I'll make it very, very easy for you. You owe me $7. And he said, I'm going to make it very, very easy for you, but we're going to go double or nothing. And what he did was he turned over 2 cards. And he showed me a red card and a blue card. Now he said, we'll go double or nothing. You owe me $7 if you can guess the color of that card. Now I've had some people say it's red. I've had some people say it's blue. When he did it to me, I said it was red. And of course he just turned the card over and he said, you owe me $14. Well, that's some card magic using sleights. You won't have to worry about the sleights there. What we're going to do now is start and do some card magic with just an ordinary deck of cards. And what I'd like to do is if we can get a close-up of the table before I take the deck out, the cards out of the box. You start here with a deck of cards. And I normally, if you want to buy a new deck of cards or if you want to use an old deck of cards and have them all arranged, if someone takes a borrowed deck of cards, what you should do with this one is put them all in order. So what I've done is I've actually taken all the cards and placed them in order, as you can see. So once they're in order, you lay the cards down and you get a spectator to cut as many times as they want. So all I'm going to do, now you may think that I'm cutting where I want to, but a spectator actually does this. Now I can cut 100 times, I can cut 50 times, I can cut 75 times. It really doesn't matter, because the number of cuts makes no difference. Now, if I lay these cards out like this, you will notice that there are 13 piles, and each pile contains the 4 sevens, 4 eights, the 4 nines, the 4 tens, the 4 jacks, the 4 queens, 4 kings, the 4 aces, the 4 deuces, the 4 threes, the 4 fours, and the 4 fives. All the cards are in the regular order. Now, stay tuned, because you take the deck of cards now and do a series of shuffles. Take the deck, split them evenly as much as you can. Take this deck, shuffle them, and place one card on each of these piles. Take the next pile, shuffle them so that you've got them mixed up. Take 3 cards from this and put one on each pile. So you're doing the same thing with each of the piles of the cards. And basically all you're doing here is just mixing up the cards. And what you'll find is when you turn the cards over in each pile, you've cut to the 4 aces. Now, you take the 4 aces, and this is a whole routine you can do with this. We now will just put out 4 rows of cards with 3 in a row. I'll take the ace and make it the 4th card in each pile, so that when I take up each pile of cards, we know the ace is the 4th card. Take these up, the ace is the 4th card. Take these up, the ace is the 4th card. Take these up, the ace is the 4th card. As I lay them down, we know what that card is. It's an ace. If we continue to lay down the cards like this, we now are back to 4 rows with 4 in a row. We know where the aces are, and all I'm going to do is I'm just going to switch 2 cards. The ace with the 4, place them in here. I now get someone to pick cards until we wind up right here. When you turn them over, the 4 aces are in the pile that the person picked. And that's a great way to start off some card magic, and I'll be back in a couple of seconds to explain exactly how I did it. Well, that's a great opener, isn't it? Now, explanation. If someone gives you a borrowed deck of cards, obviously the cards are not going to be in this order. So you have to put them in this order. And the reason you give for putting the cards in that order is you want to count the cards. And counting them in 52 is not good enough, because you may have different 2 fives of hearts or something. So what you do is that's the reason why you put the cards in this order. Now, if you look at this deck of cards, you will notice that the ace of spades is exactly 13 cards away from the ace of diamonds, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. The ace of diamonds is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 cards away from the ace. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 away from the ace. All the cards are 13 cards away from each other. So if you laid them all down now on the table, you'd have all the aces, deuces, threes, and fours in a row. 4 piles, or 13 piles, and all the cards would be distributed equally. If you cut the cards, they'll still be in the same order. Let me show you. If I take the cards and cut them once. Now, if we look at the ace, we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You see, the aces are still 13 away from each other, and it goes for every other card. If I cut the cards again, and again, and again, and again, and it doesn't matter who cuts the cards, the spectator does. You can't shuffle the cards. You can only cut the cards. So let's look at, for instance, the 7 of hearts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. All the 7s are 13 away from each other, as with all the other cards. So, when you would lay the cards down into 13 piles, the queen is there, the next card is the queen. So you lay them all down. It's got to be 13 piles. You had to lay them down in 13 piles. 2 queens there, of course 13 cards away is another queen. And you continue on with all the cards. 3 queens, the same as 3 aces. You know that the other ace is 13 away. So you continue, lay all your cards out. Done. You then turn over all the cards and show that all of them are in their piles. As such. That's done no matter how many times the spectator cuts the cards. He can cut it 10 times, 1,000 times. They all wind up this way. So, that's the first part of the trick. The second part of the trick, you have to pick up the cards and get the 4 aces to the top of the deck. So all I do is I just take the cards, pile them all on top of each other like this. We now know that the 4 aces are on top of the deck. If you riffle shuffle like this, make sure you don't disturb the 4 aces. You can't shuffle like this because you're going to disturb the 4 aces. But you can do this. Now you've still got the 4 aces on top of the deck. The people there think that you've totally put the deck in disarray. So now what you do is you cut the deck, or you can get somebody else to cut the deck, approximately in half. Take half of this deck, put it there, and take half of this deck and put it here. You now still have the 4 aces on top of this pile right here. Now you pick up this deck and you just casually shuffle it, just like this. You place 1 card from this deck onto those. Do the same thing with this deck, and you just casually state that you're just mixing up the cards. That's all you're doing. And you do the same thing with the 3rd deck. This deck now has 3 cards on top of the 4 aces. You have to get rid of these 3 cards, and all you do is just casually, when you're shuffling, just casually shuffle off the 3 cards. Now you have the 4 aces back. And all you do is take 1, 2, 3 aces. The 4th ace is there, and you turn the 4 cards over to show that you've actually cut to the 4 aces. Now, that's the second part of the effect. The third part of the effect is you take the 4 aces and you lay them aside. And you lay down 4 rows of 3 cards in a row. Doesn't matter what the cards are, just 4 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 3 in a row. Then you put an ace as the 4th card. As you pick up the cards, you say every 4th card is an ace. Pick these up, pick these up, pick these up. You now add these to here. You lay out the cards. You say 1, 2, 3, and pick up the 5th card here and touch right here. You say, everyone knows what that card is, don't they? Now, you don't lay the card back on top of the deck. You put the card on the bottom of the deck. And you do it just very casually. You say, you know what that card is, don't you? And you turn it over and you say, it's the ace. What you've done now is you've disrupted the order of these cards. So now, when you lay the cards down now, you see this ace goes here. Another ace goes here. The 4th ace goes there. Now, you have 3 aces here and 1 ace here. Everybody thinks the 4 aces are in this pile. So all you have to do is you say, ace of diamonds is the leader. If I switch the ace of diamonds here, we just switch 2 cards. Now what you have to do is you have to force the person to pick this pile of cards. And what it's called is a magician's force. And how it works is this way. You say to the person, pick 2 piles of cards. If they pick these 2, you hold on to them and you discard these 2. If they pick these 2, then you take these 2 and throw them away. So let's just go through it. Say, pick 2 piles of cards. They pick these 2, so you take them away. You know that the aces are here, you wanted to pick this card. If they pick this one, you say, okay, I take this one away. You're left with the 4 aces. Let's look at it a different way. The idea of a magician's force is that you know the rules and nobody else knows them. So, we've got the 4 aces here. They have to pick this pile. So, they say, okay, I want these 2 piles. So, you take these 2 away. If they say, I want that one, then you just pick it up and say, there's your 4 aces. So, whichever 2 they pick, if they pick these 2, take these 2 away. If they pick these 2, take these 2 away. If they pick these 2, take these 2 away. Always make sure you're left with 2 piles that has the 4 aces in them. So you have 2 piles left. If when you say now, pick a pile, if they pick this one, you take it away. If they pick this one, you say, there are 4 aces. And that's a great opener for any card magician. I'll be right back with another card magic trick. All right, welcome back. Here's one of my favorite card tricks. I call it around the world. The same deck of cards. What you do is you say to someone, I'm going to use a black card and a red card as marker cards. And I'm going to go through this fairly quickly. So you just pick out some cards and you say, which, let me get this right here now. You pick out some cards and you say which are red or which are black. So you just start laying them down as to which are red and which are black. And you can go one at a time, or you can pick out 6 cards, lay the cards down, you say, okay, which are red and which are black? Those are black, those are red. And you continue on through, never showing the person the cards, of course, because they'll know which are red and which are black. So you say which are red and which are black? Those are black, those are red. Continue on through. Which are red and which are black? Those are red, those are black. Now, what you say is because we have these piled black and these piled red, your left and your right side of the brain control different areas. So we're going to do it a little differently. We're going to take a black card now and put the black cards on this side and a red card and put the red cards on this side. So now you just go through them again. and you say which are red and which are black. Those are black, those are red. Go through them again. And again, you can do it one at a time, like this, red and black. You can do it two at a time, red and black. Or you can do it three at a time. Those are black and those are red. And of course the spectator is telling you which ones are red and which ones are black. You're not doing this because you know. The last ones, those are red and those are black. Now, all you point out and you say, well, it's amazing that right here with all the black cards, you take up this card and you say, you know, what you've done is you've taken all the cards and had red and all the cards here and had black. Same with here. All the cards here are black and all the cards here are red. I'll go right into the explanation for this one now. If I just shuffle up the cards. You see, it doesn't matter what the person says if they're red or black, because this is the way this is how the trick works. And then I'll go into the second part of the trick after this. Okay, so you show a red card and you show a black card. Now, when you ask which is red and which is black, it doesn't matter, you see, because all the cards are red. When you're doing this trick, you do it all with the red cards first, and then you would do it all with the black cards first. And you have to remember which is which. So when you start off, you say, okay, which is red and which is black? Okay, they say this is black, so you put them there. These are red, you put them over here. You continue to do this. Of course, the idea of doing it is you pick out the cards again, they're all red, these are black, these are red. You continue to go through the deck, and these ones, the first ones will be easy because they're all red, and you go through the deck and you got to find them. So here you go, they're all red, which are black. Right here, these are red. You go through the deck and you find the rest of the red cards, remembering to hold on to one red card. You have to hold on to one red card. You have the remaining, so these ones are red, these ones are black. Now, you already have them all mixed up. All the red are here under red, all the red are here under black. You have to remember this because this is the card you have to scoop up when you're doing it. Now, you talk about the left and right hand side of the brain. So now you take the last red card and place it over here, and you take a black card and place it over here. You say, well, now we're going to switch it so that you don't favor one side over the other. So now what you've got left are all black cards. Now don't just take some cards off like this and do it. What you've got to do is you've got to make it look as though you're still picking out red and black cards. So even though they're all black cards, you pick them out from different parts of the pile as if you're picking red and black, even though they're all black. So the person says black and red. You continue with that, picking them out from different places, asking if they're red or black. You place them down. Again, you say red or black. These are red. These are black. And then you continue on with the last bunch. Which are red? These are red. These are black. Now, here's where it gets a little tricky. You have to take this card and lay it on top of this pile because that's black and all these are red. So you just take this card and shuffle them up like this, and you say, now isn't it amazing that you picked and put all the black cards in a pile and you put all the red cards in a pile. And then you do the same thing with this side. You take all the cards and put all black in a pile and all the red go in a pile. And that's how you show that you've done all your cards. Now, what you have now is all black and all red together. What you want to do is this is the second part of the trick, you do some false shuffles. And you can take out the bottom, lay it down, and place them on top. You haven't changed the order of the cards. Okay, so you take out, try and do this slow for you. You take out the bottom, then lay the top back on again. Just take the cards out, lay them down. So the person is thinking you're actually just shuffling up the cards. Don't shuffle the cards up, because that's only going to fool them up. You can't do this, because that's going to fool up what's going to happen. All you can do is take the bottom cards, lay them down, and then lay the top cards on top of them. As you can see, they're still in the same order, all black and all red. Now, here's what you do. You give the deck of cards to a spectator, and you say, now I've done the last bit of magic and made all the reds appear and all the blacks appear. I'm going to let you totally control the deck of cards. Now, I'm not going to touch the deck of cards at all. You give the person the deck of cards and you say, I want you to deal out the cards in 4 piles. And I want you to make all the piles as even as possible. You can put 2 on each pile, 3 on each pile, 1 on each pile. It doesn't make any difference, but try and keep the piles as even as possible. Better putting just 1 card on each pile. Now, you've got the piles evenly distributed. If someone can riffle shuffle, you get them to pick up the 2 piles of cards and riffle shuffle those 2. Whichever 2 they pick. They can pick any 2 piles of cards at all. So they picked the 2 middle ones, so you did it in riffle shuffle. These 2 are left. So you riffle shuffle these, then you take the final 2. And again, if a person can riffle shuffle fairly good, you let that person do that. So then you take the 2 remaining piles and you riffle shuffle them. And now, you cut 3 piles of cards. What you want to do is force the center pile of cards. So you say, pick 2 piles of cards. If they pick these 2, you take that one away. And then you say, now pick 1. If they pick that one, you put that one away, and that's the one that's left. So as long as you force the center pile of cards, that's fine, because you'll say, look, in the center pile of cards, you can see that there's a good mixture of black and red. However, over here, they're all black, and over here, they're all red. Now, quick explanation. And I'll just go through these cards and separate them again, just to show you what happens. You started off and all the cards were in this order. All the black were on top, all the red were on bottom. And as long as you cut like that, then all you're doing is taking some cards out and doing this. And when you do it, make sure you do this. Take the cards and bring them around this way, and then do that. It makes it look even more so that you're cutting the deck. So you've cut it 3 or 4 times, and all you're doing, while you're cutting, you're talking. Just saying, I've just done that, and I've made all the cards come together, all the reds and all the blacks. I'm going to do, I think one of you could do some magic. So you've still got all the reds and all the blacks there. So what you do now is you give the cards to the person, and as he's putting down the cards, what's happening is all these cards that are put down here are all black. And don't let him put more than, say, 2 cards on a pile, because it may, but as long as he mixes them up, it doesn't really matter which way it is. Now, whatever 2 piles he picks, say he picks these 2, you can see that this pile has black on the bottom and red on the top. This pile has black on the bottom and red on the top. If you riffle shuffle, and what you're doing is you're taking the cards and it looks like you're mixing them all up, but all you're doing is you're just interweaving these together so that you still got all the red on the top. Well, we missed one there. You still got all the red on the top and all the black on the bottom. Just make sure, and you've got all red on the top and all black on the bottom. If you miss one in the middle where they join. It won't make any difference because those cards are going to be cut in the middle anyway. So you do the same thing here. So you got the same thing, all red, and this, even though this one is out of place, it won't make any difference because that's going to be riffled somewhere in the middle. So you take the two again, and you riffle them. So now you see you've got all red on the top, at least certainly a nice few of them. Once you get towards the center, you're going to notice a few of them mixed up, but most of the ones in the bottom are black. So as long as you cut 10 or 12 cards off the top, you're okay. Take the majority of the cards, put them in the middle, because they're going to be all black and red, and then the bottom ones will be all black. So if you force the center pile, you'll say, okay, now pick two piles of cards. If they pick these two here, then that's it. You say, okay, so why didn't you pick this pile? If they pick these two, you take this one away and you say pick two. If they pick this one, you say, well, it's amazing that you picked this pile because it's got black and red in it. If they pick this one, you say, well, it's amazing that you didn't pick this pile because these ones have all red and black. These ones are all black, and these ones are all red. And it was done with the spectator doing it all. And that's the first part of the trick, and then what you do is once you get them assembled, you go into the second part of the trick, and those two magic tricks are done sequential, one right after the other. I'll be back with some more card magic. Alright, back again. Okay, what you do with this one is you cut half the deck and give half the deck to a spectator, and you take half the deck. What you do is you reach in, pick out a card, and the spectator also picks out a card. And what you do then is you take your card and place it in your deck of cards. The spectator takes, without looking at it, takes your card and places it in his deck of cards. What happens is then you take half of the spectator's cards, you put them in the deck like this, so they're facing opposite yours. You take the other half and you face them like this. And then you just square the deck. That's called squaring the deck. And you say, now I'm going to make the cards all come back in order, all facing the same way, except for the two cards that we picked. When you go through the deck, they're all back in order, except for two cards. You get the spectator to name his card, then you name your card, and those are the two cards that are the only ones that are turned over in the deck. Really neat trick. Same deck of cards. You start off with the bottom card turned the wrong way, and you have to remember that card. So if the bottom card is the six of spades, you just casually turn it over so that card, so no matter which way you look at the deck of cards, it looks like it's okay. So all the cards are facing one way, the bottom card is facing the other way. And as we go through this and I explain it, you'll understand why. So you take half the deck of cards, pass it to a spectator. You go through the deck, you know that your card is the six of spades. So you go through the deck, you pick out a card, and you pass this card to the spectator. Say, I don't want you to look at the card because this card has nothing to do with the trick. As you pass him the card, you get him to look at his deck and pass you a card. While he's doing that, you take the deck and just casually turn it over. So now what you've got is all the cards are this way with one card turned over, which is going to be the selection that you picked, the six of spades. He gives you his card. His card is the 10 of clubs. He knows that you don't know it. So you place his card in the deck. You see, now his card is facing the opposite way, which is the 10 of clubs. He doesn't know that. He thinks he's just putting his card, and make sure that you keep the cards fairly square. You don't want him to look at them like that. He's putting his card in like that, and he's putting, this now is his deck of cards, he's putting your card in like that. Now, you take half the cards, half his deck, and put them face up like this, so it looks like they're all mixed up. You take the other part and put them here like this, and the reason you do this is to show them that they're all mixed up, like that. And all you do then is just square the cards up. And you say, now, just with a snap of my fingers, I'm going to make all the cards turn facing one way except for two cards. My card and your card. So you go through the cards. There's one card. There's the other card, and you go through the cards just to show them that all the cards are facing one way, even though just a second ago they were all switched around the other way. And you get him to name your card, his card. He says the 10 of clubs. My card was a 6 of spades. And you turn him over, and you show that both cards match. And that's the upside down, mixed up deck. And I'll be back in a second with another neat card trick. Welcome back. Here's one of my favorite, actually all the ones I'm doing are my favorite card tricks. But this is a really good one. You turn to a spectator and you say, what I want you to do is I want you to think of a number. And if you think of a number, you know, you can say between 10 and 20 or 10 and 30, but just a number. So say, for instance, you thought of 3, 4, 5, 6. You thought of 7. Say the seventh card. So what I want you to do is think of a number, and when you get a number, I want you to count down that cards and think of a number, because I'm going to write down, you have a piece of paper, you write down a number on a piece of paper. So the person takes the deck of cards and say his number was 20. So you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. You turn over that card and you say, the 3 of diamonds. You lift up, open, and you say, I was wrong, I didn't get it right. So you still don't show the piece of paper, you keep the piece of paper there. You say, okay, I'll tell you what, let's try it again. So he takes the cards and tries it again. Say, I'll tell you what, why don't you tell me the number that you were thinking of, and then both of us can think of the number and maybe this will work out. So he says 20. So you count down 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. The 20th card was the 4 of clubs. You take up your piece of paper, and written on that piece of paper is the 4 of clubs. Here's the way it works. Very simple working. Cards don't have to be in any particular order to do this. You explain, you have a pad of paper next to you when you're doing this, and a pen. You say, here's what I want you to do. I want you to just think of a number between 10 and 30, say. So, and what you do is you start laying down the cards. So you say for instance you said 7, then you would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That would be your card. And you take a glimpse at the card. So you know it's the 7 of clubs. So you know the 7 of clubs is the 7th card. You also know now that the 7 of clubs is the top card. You lay the cards down. You go over to your pad of paper, you write down 7 clubs. Don't show them what it is. You fold it and you lay it there, or give it to someone to hold on. You give it to someone to hold on to. And you don't tell anybody what it is. You say, okay, now, think of your number. I don't even want to know what your number is, but count down that number of cards. And while he's counting, make sure you're counting too, because you don't want him to say 15 the first time and then 18 the second time, because that's going to fool up the trick. So say he says 20. So you do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Now you know that that's not your card. So you say to him, what card is it? And he says, the Jack of Spades. And you'll say, okay, maybe the problem here is that we haven't really got into any thought control. So if you remember what card you picked, of course you're not going to know what card I picked, but if you can tell me what number you had, and he's going to say 20. Now remember, you've got 20 cards here, And you've just reversed the order of the cards. So now, guess what number 20 is? It's the Jack of Clubs. So if you just lay them on here, you now know that the 20th card in this deck is the Jack of Clubs. So all you have to do now is, when he tells you the number, he says 20, you say, okay, well, let's count together. And maybe if we put two of our minds together, we might be able to do some really neat magic here. So you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Turn the card over. You say, so the 20th card is the Jack of Clubs. You point to the person who's holding that piece of paper. And you say, would you open up that piece of paper and tell everybody what I had written on the piece of paper before we even started counting up the cards. He opens up a piece of paper and he says, the Jack of Clubs. And everybody falls off their chair. Anyway, that's a really nice trick, remembering, getting a card, easily controlling it to the top of the deck. And there's other ways of using sleights to control it, but that's an easy way to take a card, control it to the top of the deck, and then do a really nice piece of magic with it. I'll be back in a few seconds with some more neat card magic. Welcome back. Another great card trick. For this one, again, same deck of cards. You're going to need 10 pieces of paper and a pen. What you do is you get a spectator to pick a card. And of course, you see the card. Okay? It's the Jack of Spades. So, what you do is, not letting anybody see it, you're going to write down Jack of Spades on this piece of paper and lay it down. Then you're going to get him to pick 1, a Queen of Hearts, and of course for each card that the person picks, 5 of Hearts, you write it down on a piece of paper and put it over there. So that's 3. You count the 4th one. How many cards have we got? 4. Then you count the 5th one, 4 of clubs. Then you've got this next one, King. What is it? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, he needs to pick 4 more. Make sure there's 10 cards. So you pick 1, 2, 3, 4. So the 4 cards picked were the 7 of clubs, 7 of spades, 2 of clubs, and the 4 of spades. So you write them down. You don't let anybody see what you're writing down. So, you have now 10 pieces of paper with the cards written on them. You get the spectator to pick 1 card. So they pick 1 piece of paper. They pick 1 piece of paper. You take these other ones and you burn them. Don't throw them in the garbage or anything. You burn them. You have to burn these pieces of paper and wait until all of them are burned. Once they're all burned, you get the person to open up here, and it says Jack of Spades in the 5th position. So you take the cards and you count down 1, 2, 3, 4, the fifth card is the Jack of Spades, and it's in the fifth position. Great card trick. Very easy to do too, I might add. And I'll be back in just 1 second to explain how it works. Alright, welcome back. Okay, like I said, for this card trick, you need the regular deck of cards. You need 10 pieces of paper and a pen. When the person picks a card, say it's the King of Hearts, you write down on the piece of paper, King of Hearts, and then write down underneath it 5. So the King of Hearts. So that's the way it would be written down. King, H, and 5. I'll explain to you what 5 is in a second. So, as they pick cards, they're laid down. The second card is picked, 7 of diamonds. Now, every piece of paper, you don't write down 7 of diamonds. You write down on all 10 pieces of paper, King of Hearts and 5. Also, all 10 pieces of paper have the King of Hearts with 5 on it. So the third card will be 6 of clubs. You write down King of Hearts 5. The fourth card is the Jack of Spades. You write down King of Hearts 5. Don't let anyone see what you're writing down. The fifth card, the 2 of diamonds. You write down King of Hearts 5. The sixth card, the Ace of Spades, you write down King of Hearts 5. You pick up these 6 cards and you say, how many have we got so far? You count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You've got 6 cards. What you've done now is just reversed the order. So now the King of Hearts is on top. You've already picked 6 cards. You're going to pick 4 more, lay them on top of the King of Hearts, which will mean that the King of Hearts will now be in the 5th position. Is it coming clearer as I'm getting through? So, the 7th card, 4 of Spades, you write down King of Hearts and 5 underneath it. 8th, Ace of Diamonds, write down the King of Hearts and 5 underneath it. Queen of Spades, you write down the King of Hearts and the 5 underneath it. And the 10th card, the Ace of Clubs, you write down the King of Hearts and the 5 underneath it. So now, you've got 10 pieces of paper, all with the King of Hearts and 5 in a circle underneath it. You get the person to pick one of these pieces of paper. They pick the piece of paper. The purpose for destroying all these other ones is so that someone doesn't go rummaging through and realize that you've wrote the King of Hearts and 5 on every single piece of paper. So you had to burn these, and you're doing it just to destroy the evidence. So the person has a piece of paper. You say to that person, on that piece of paper is written the King of Hearts. He opens it up and he says, yes, the King of Hearts is written on this piece of paper. Thinking that you managed to figure out that of all the 10 cards, you managed to figure out that the King of Hearts was the one he picked. That's miracle number 1. You'll notice that there's a number written underneath the King of Hearts. And they'll say, yes. You'll say, what number is it? You know what number it is, but you create suspense. They'll say it's number 5. You take the 10 cards and lay them on top of the deck, and you'll say, would someone count down 5 cards? So they count down 1, 2, 3, 4, and of course the 5th card that they count down to is the King of Hearts. So not only did you guess or figure out what card that they had picked, but you also guessed at what position in the deck it was. And that is a real fooler. And I'll be back in a second with some more card magic. Welcome back. Well, I thought I'd finish off and do my favorite card trick. And I don't know why I've included this on the video. I should be shot for showing you how this. But this is probably the most famous, the most deserves the greatest respect for card magic, And this trick alone is worth the price of the video. So without bragging too much about it. And I'm not going to do the trick. I'm going to explain to you how it works. You're going to need 3 oranges. And I know this looks odd, 2 small ones and 2 big ones, but I did this purposely because it's not going to work with an orange like this. You need a larger orange like this. And they're just 3 regular oranges. They should be all the same size, but they should be about this size. This size is no good, and as we get into this, you'll understand why. Again, same deck of cards, a plate, and a knife. To do this effect, you're going to need to force a card. There's a couple of different ways of forcing a card. One way is this way. If you take the cards and kind of just take one off and put it underneath like this. I hope everybody can see this. And say, look, I want you to, as you can see here, the card is kind of pushed up against my fingers here, resting like this. And you get the person to pick a card. If they pick this one, then all you do is push them together and you've forced the ace of clubs. I'll do it one more time for you. Take ace of clubs off and just push it underneath right here. And then as you're going through, if a person points, say, this card here, all you do is just push them together and you forced the ace of clubs. Another way to force the ace of clubs is if you take a handkerchief and as the person cuts, you just say, okay, what card did you cut to? And of course, it's the ace of clubs. Now, this method is very simple again. You start with the ace of clubs on top. So when you put the handkerchief over the deck of cards like this, what you do is you reverse the cards like this. So when the person cuts, you turn these cards over, so they've actually thought that they cut regularly, and of course they've cut to the ace of clubs. I'll do it one more time. If you put these cards under, and I'll do this as if the handkerchief was on here, so to see how it works. If you did it normally, the person would cut, and they would cut to the 9 of hearts. What you're trying to do is get them to cut to this one. So as this goes over, you turn the cards over like this. So now the cards are face up with the handkerchief over it. When the person cuts like this, when they cut like this, while the handkerchief is still over your hand, you turn the cards over. So that they just, it looks as though they've just taken the cards off and cut somewhere in the middle, but what you've actually done is you've forced the ace of clubs. Okay. So now, you've actually forced the ace of clubs. What you go on then to say is, I'm going to take this ace of clubs, I'm going to tear, what you do is you tear a piece out of it, and you give it to someone to hold on to. Now, you take the rest of it, if you can burn it, if you've got plastic cards, you're not going to be able to burn the plastic cards. If you've got cheap old cards, and for this trick it's probably better to do that, you can do it. Or what you can do is once you tear off a piece, you can roll it up into a very small piece, fold it in 2, and then use the same handkerchief, put it underneath here. I can find it. What you do is you fold this up here like this, get the person to hold on, and you can feel it there, and all you do is just go, and it's disappeared. What this is in this hem, if you can see it, I'll try, there's rolled up paper. I cut out a piece of paper or cardboard, whichever is about the same texture as a card, and I put it in, see, I put it in the hem of the handkerchief. So once you know where the hem is, or the fake piece, you can take your card, put it in here, and then fold this up, and as you're giving it to the person to hold on to, you take the card and just drop it in your lap. That's one way of making the card disappear, or you can burn it, it doesn't matter. So you give the card, so the person thinks that they're actually holding on to your folded up card. What you do then is you just take the handkerchief and just fold it up and make the card disappear. And now you say, I've made the card disappear from underneath the handkerchief, and it's going to appear back in the deck. And not only is it going to appear back in the deck, but you're going to cut to that very card. So the person cuts to the card, and they say, no, that's not my card. I say, okay, we'll concentrate again. Let's try it one more time. So they cut again, and they say, no, that's not your card. Obviously, it's not your card because they just cut it up. So you bring out 3 oranges. And again, you do the same thing. You force the orange of the one you want to force. So say, for instance, the orange is in the middle. You force that one. You say, pick 2 oranges. If you pick these 2, you forced it. If they pick these 2, you put that one away. You say, pick 2. If they pick this one, you say, okay, this is it. If they pick this one, you say, okay, this is it. So now you forced this orange. All you do is you take a knife and you cut into the orange, and slowly open up the orange. Now remember, all along, the person has one piece of the card in his hand. Open up the orange this way, out towards everybody, because you're going to see a card pop up in the orange. You take out the card. When you unfold the card, it is the card that was forced. And you say, now that could have been a duplicate card in the orange. That's why I got you to tear off a piece, because you'll notice that when you put the 2 pieces together, they match. So it had to be the card that you originally picked. Now, explanation. I'll do this. You have to get a fairly good size orange. You need a duplicate card, obviously. You need an orange that also has those little pits in them. To prepare this orange, as you can see, all I did was I took the pit off right here, and I used, you can use some kind of a skewer or something to drive a hole down in the orange. Once you've got the hole in the orange, you take the card and you fold it as small as you can after you've torn a piece off of it. You take it then and you insert it in the orange. Take the pit, put the pit back in place, and the orange looks as though it's never been tampered with. You now have the 3 of spades in here. It's a good idea. You can use a glue stick, and that's what I've done. Put the pit, dip it in glue stick, and just put it there, and it will stay there. So there's no fear. Now, if you've got 3 oranges that are the same, that look the same, what I do is I'll put a tag on one of the oranges so I'll know which one I need to force. So you know which one you need to force. And you've got a piece of the card here. You have to get this piece to your spectator. And this is the way you do it. You need a duplicate card, so you're going to need 2 decks of cards, and 1 deck of cards you can just keep tearing up one and just use a different card every time for this. So the 3 of spades. So of course you can, person wants this card, there's your card. So you don't look at the card, you tear off then a piece, you have this piece in your hand. So you tear off a piece of the card, and then you just, very casually, as you're holding onto that piece, just drop the piece into his hand, and then the other piece you have, just drop it in your lap. Quite simply. But you have to have this piece in his hand, so the way you do it is you just tear off a piece, then just casually drop this piece in his hand. So now he has the piece of this card that was torn off. So now everything is done. He's got this piece, the card is already in here. You now then take this card and burn it or roll it up, place it in the handkerchief, make it disappear. You say, I'm going to make it disappear from the handkerchief and appear back in the deck of cards. Of course, when you cut, no matter where you cut to, the card is gone. You bring out 3 oranges. Of course, the one with the tag on it is the one you have to force, because that's the one that has the 3 of spades in it with the matching corner. You force, get him to pick this card. You then say, well, I don't know why you picked that card, and it's amazing that you did pick that card, because I'm just going to cut down through here, and as you cut down, make sure you open it this way, because as you open it this way, the card is going to naturally just pop right up. You lay it down like this, you don't even touch the card. Say, would someone mind taking that card out of that orange? Someone takes the card out of the orange. And they unfold it. I thought it was 3 spades. 2 clubs. Say, now that could have been a duplicate 2 clubs. However, to prove that it wasn't, I tore off a piece and it matches perfectly. And that is the card in the orange. A couple of things just before we cut away, and because I want to come back and just talk to you about a few other things about forcing the card and just making sure that you hide this piece in your hand, and when you're tearing a piece off, when you tear it off, you just kind of just drop that piece in his hand. So it's very easy to take. I'll show it to you with this card. If I've got this head here, and if I tear off a piece like this, all I'm going to do is just going to drop that, and I've retained that piece in my hand. You see how easy it was to do that? I'll show it to you one more time so it's easy for you to do it. You've got this piece here. So all you do is you just take this piece, and as you're tearing it off, hide it in your fingers like this, so that when you go to give it to the person, you just drop the duplicate in their hand, and you retain this piece. And as you're dropping the duplicate in their hand, just come back and just take this piece and just drop it in your lap. And then you're clean. Now you have everything in there, and you can go ahead and build it up to whatever way you want to build it up. Anyway, I'll be back in a few minutes with some closing comments and with a closing magic trick. Well, welcome back. Some final comments, closing comments. One of the things, if you really want to get serious about card magic or any kind of magic, is to buy yourself one of these close-up pads. And you can't get them around here. If you're interested, you can get one from me. I sell them. Or it's just a little bit of velveteen, and it's a rubber matting on the back. And there's a couple of things. It makes you look really professional. It focuses people in on the area, so they're not looking all around. So it's focused in on here. And what also it allows you to do, if you lay down some cards, it's very easy to pick the cards up as opposed to on a table where it's not as easy to pick the cards up. Also, when you're spreading the cards, you can spread the cards a lot more easily on a pad than you can on the table, because when you do that, you see, then you can do things like this. This looks really difficult, but it's not difficult at all. Let me show you how this works. And when you're doing some card magic, you should probably start off and do this first. All it is just to spread the cards fairly evenly. Take one card up, and as you turn the cards over, you see they'll all turn on their own. If you spread them wide like that, that's not going to work. You have to be able to put some pressure and spread them fairly close together. Take up one card, and as you turn them over, just take one card and just practice it. You see, it's very, very easy to do that, but it looks so good, and you just scoop the cards up like that. Now, the other thing is, a lot of people cut the deck like this. What you want to be able to do is take the deck in your hands like this and cut it using one hand. Now, I'm trying to do this slow to show you. You hold it like this. Thumb on the back, forefinger and pinky on the sides, and your middle finger and ring finger in the front. All you do, and I'll try and show you from back here a second. What you do is you cut off some and let these cards drop. And then with your pointy finger, you push those up. It's hard to do it in slow motion. If I can get it sideways here. So your pinky and your two fingers here hold the top cards. You let the other ones drop. Your pointy finger then pushes those cards up, and it just turns like that. See? Let them drop, push them up. That's the way you start. Thumb on the back, pointy finger and pinky on both sides, and the middle finger and your ring finger, they're like that. So, your thumb pushes off about 1/3 of the deck. And then you just let the rest of them fall down. Then your pointy finger just pushes, and as it pushes it up, the top part just naturally falls down. See? And then you just close up. Do it for you one more time. Push. And if you do that a couple of times before you start your card magic, lay the cards out and do that a few times. And when you pick up the cards, pick them up like that, then you're going to look like you did some really good card magic. Okay, that's card flourishes. That's my card mat. I'd like to finish off and do one more trick. And in order for me to do it, I'm going to want a close-up. And then once I do it, I'll just give you a couple of more final comments, and then we'll finish off. Now, I don't know if anybody has heard of three-card Monte, but what you've got, this is the way cheats used to swindle people out of money. And this is how they did it. They had a 3, an ace, and a deuce. Now, the ace was the card that you had to keep your eyes on. And I want you to keep your eyes on the ace. So no matter where I'm moving around, you have to keep your eyes on the ace. Now, there's the ace. If I take the ace and place it in the middle, take the deuce, put it on this side, and take the 3 and put it on that side. All I have to do is I'm going to mix the cards around, and you have to follow the ace. So if I've mixed up them up enough for you, you see what's going to happen is most people are going to point to this card. But you see, the ace is in the middle. It's important to keep it's important to keep your eyes on the ace, because if you take your eyes off it, and I'll show you exactly how this works after, because it's pretty neat. So, ace is the card that you have to watch out for. And no matter how I mix them up in my hand, see, the ace always stays in the middle. So if I take the ace put it in the middle. Take the deuce, put it here, and take the 3 and put it here. All I'm doing is switching them like this now. If I can get someone to look away just for a second, what I do is I actually take the cards and I can snap them and switch them like that without you even noticing it. Now this is really difficult to do on TV, but if I've done it correctly, the ace that was there is actually now moved over to there. Now, I know you're saying that you really thought that the ace was over there, but you got to remember the ace is always in the middle. It's always in the middle. So, see, no matter how many ways I mix up the cards, the ace is always in the middle. But I tell you what, let's do it a little differently this time. Let's take the 2 and put the 2 in the middle, and let's take the ace and put it over here and take the 3 over here. Now, remember, the ace was always in the middle, and even though you think the ace is over here, because I never touched him at all, you see, you got to remember the ace is always, always, always in the middle. The problem you've got is that you have 2 eyes, there are 3 cards. So what we're going to do is we're going to make it easy for you. I'm going to take the deuce, put the deuce there, and I'm going to take the ace and the 3. And I'm just going to take them like this and just go like this. Lay them down like this. Is the ace on the top or on the bottom? Well, some of you think the ace is on the top, some of you think the ace is on the bottom. Actually, the ace is over there. And the deuce and the 3 are right there. Anyway, that's called 3-card Monte. It's a great way that gamblers, that's what gamblers use to actually cheat people out of money. And no matter how much you think you know where the card is, you never really know where the card is. Anyway, I hope you enjoy the magic. There's some great card tricks on it. Again, like I said, it's better to know how to do 6 or 8 card tricks really well than to do 150 or 200 not so well. Again, my name is Gary Summers. I'm going to just come back in a second. If you want to look up some more of my magic, I'm going to put some information up to show you where you can get some more information. Anyway, thanks for buying the video, and I hope you have as much fun doing the magic as I had producing this video for you. Thanks a lot.